Man, you're pretty bad, bro. You ever think of doing some VOD review to figure out what you're doing wrong? Nah, man, I don't have to VOD review because I'm capable of analyzing my mistakes in the moment. Holy shit, bro. I guess you're right. I just wish there was a way for you to figure out why you're stuck in plat. Holy fuck, I gotta clean my microphone. Hey, so this was a real conversation that I had with a guy in a game. We were being gamers, you know, we were duking it out, and he basically said that he doesn't think that he needs to do VOD review because he's capable of being critical in the moment, and that he didn't need to go back to analyze the games because of that. Now, don't get me wrong here, there is a ton of stuff that you can learn in the moment, and there are definitely those Radiant players who just queue all day and probably don't go back to review the games that they're playing. So then, is VOD reviewing a waste of time? Well, no, of course not. Let's compare it to something that most of us have probably done. Say, like, having sex with your opponent's moms. So you're having sex with someone's mom, right? And like afterwards, she doesn't give you any feedback. Did you really do a good job of having sex with their mom? Like in the moment, you might have been enjoying it, but was it actually good? Let's be honest. If you're watching this channel, you probably did a good job. Nice one, bro. Fist bump? Fist bump? Oh yeah, you want it. But you know, there's so much going on and there's titties flying everywhere and shit. And you don't know if she's faking it or not. And there's really no way for you to know how good of a performance you had unless you're able to review it, you know? And maybe the more you have sex with their mom, the better at it that you get. But I promise you, if you ask their mom afterwards how you could perform better, then you're gonna improve a lot faster than if you just kept hitting the same spot hoping that it feels good. I'm probably losing you guys on this analogy, huh? Here, to sum it all up, you guys are really bad at Valorant. I've started to realize this more and more with the release of maps like Breeze and Fracture. So many players really struggle on these maps, but they're actually not that difficult, assuming that you know how to break apart these maps and play for territory. Now, I promise you, once you start to understand these concepts, you'll be able to pick up new maps a lot easier than you can right now. But first, what is important to understand is that every single map in the game has key areas that are meant to be fought over. Now, some maps are actually super basic, and you'll probably take control of these areas pretty much by accident. That will be a map like Ascent, for example. On a map like Ascent, some key areas are going to be places like A main, B main, arches, and catwalk. Further than that, you have areas like Tree or Market or whatever this place is outside of B site. You know when you have to like enter B site, but you have to enter that one area and then you have to enter the next area to get actually onto site? What is the name of that area? I actually don't have a call out for that. So if you know that, let me know in the comments down below. All of these locations though are key areas that play a role in how the round will play out. The role is actually so impactful that sometimes the team that controls this area will literally win the round because of that. What is an example of this though? Well, sticking to our Ascent example, if you're going to be taking B site and you're going to be planting the bomb on B, a team can literally just waltz onto site, but if they don't remain control of B main, stairs, speedway, or that area that I don't know the name of, they're going to have a very rough time holding the actual site. If they are specifically on the site, it's not going to matter if they have 5 players versus 4. It's going to be very easy for the defenders to just steamroll onto site, because it's going to be first very difficult for these players on site to set up crossfires with each other where they can't just be exposed one by one. And it's also going to be very difficult for them to avoid all of the utility that can just be bombarded onto site to punish them. Let's switch over to the other site though to give you more of an idea of what we're talking about. On A site, there are 2 key positions, and that's going to be Heaven and Tree that you can hold as an attacker. Honestly, even having control of Catwalk can be really obnoxious for the defenders when they're coming in for a retake. They are going to have to decide to fight for control over this area when they're coming in for the retake. Otherwise, they can just all retake from Heaven and ignore Tree entirely. But once they get to the bomb and they're trying to defuse it, they're going to have a crossfire to deal with of probably 2 players in Tree and maybe 2 players in main. There's no way that they're winning. And all of this just has to do with angles, because Valorant is just a game of angles at the core. It's going to be very difficult for them to deal with these angles and these crossfires on site, so they basically have to retake Tree before they ever move on to the site. This is pretty specifically talking about post plants, but this is also very important for executes as well. It's important firstly because it removes different angles that the defenders can play, but also for a second reason because it'll help your team give yourself angles that complement each other. Let's move over to a map like Breeze and we'll talk about a foolproof strategy that most teams will run. Let's 5-man push A. Now, don't get me wrong, this might work sometimes, but it's probably not the most effective strategy because all of your teammates are going to be coming through one area and you can't really get leverage on backside without physically swinging out backside. So let's back up here and talk about some key areas on Breeze that make a difference. Some key areas on Breeze would be areas like halls, elbow, double doors, mid, A main, B main, cave, stuff like that. You might also include an area like nest on here, but that's probably not a very common area that you'll take control over, but it is dangerous if you can get up there. Now, what generally happens to your team on defense when an attacker is able to lurk all the way through halls? That's right, you probably lose, but why exactly do you lose?
Because someone got through halls.
No. You need to think deeper than that, and that's the problem with most of you. You just have surface level thinking in this game. You lost because the position that this player got was very good at collapsing on backside A, but also good at stopping rotates who are coming from B. This is a very strong position on Breeze, and this is why you'll see a lot of professional teams will put a lot of effort into taking this position. Not only is this a strong position for attacking A though, it's also a really good position for stopping rotates towards B if your team decides to rotate, because you can always just take the shoot down the middle if you want to move that way. We have all felt it before, but the point I'm trying to make here is it's really fucking annoying when somebody makes it all the way through halls. But still, so many players will just like to go through A main or go through B main, and when it doesn't work, they're like, well, I guess I'll just lose. And then, because they think that VOD review is a waste of time, they'll just be like, well, I guess I'll just do the same thing over again and hope that I win this time. Connecting this back to Fracture and why it's so difficult for a lot of people right now though, this is gonna happen with every single new map until you figure out how these maps work. I think the problem is that no players really see patterns within the way that these maps are created, so they learn every new map as if it's in like a vacuum, right? And people are starting to figure out what works on Icebox, but it's not really any different than what might work on a map like Ascent or what might work on a map like Haven. As I mentioned earlier, it's all about angles at the end of the day and what positions give you the best angles and the best advantage over your enemy. For example, for most maps, it's a good idea for the defenders to play slightly aggressive in one area as to figure out info on where the attackers might be coming from. This isn't a new concept, but it's amplified on a map like Fracture, where there are actually 4 different attack points, and not only that, but 4 ultimate orbs. It's pretty easy to figure out that if there's an ultimate orb, you're probably intended to fight over that area, but a lot of people don't. And as defenders, if you decide not to fight for these ultimate orbs, you're going to end up in a situation where you actually don't really know where the enemies are coming from until it's too late. And not only that, but as a defender, if you don't push up for info at all, you're not really going to be in a position to flank. And if you're not in a position to flank, that means that your entire team's going to be retaking through CT. And think about it this way, if you're retaking B site on Fracture from CT exclusively, you have to worry about Arcade, Tower, Site, and B main. Can you see how frightening these angles are to deal with? This is not something that I want to retake. However, say your Dish players push through Dish and they're actually going to come and flank for the retake. Now, rather than having to worry about Arcade and probably Tower, you just have to worry about Site and then B main. See how because these players played aggressive on Dish, it made it a lot easier for you to retake the other site because of not only the info, but the angles that they were able to take on their flank. But because you guys don't recognize these areas as important to control or flanking as an important thing to do, you kind of just suck. You don't fight for ultimate orbs, you don't push for advantages, and you give up territory for free. This is actually just part of a larger issue that I've seen in the game over the last few months though that has left me kind of disappointed. The amount of players who are actually in Immortal level lobbies who don't understand that it's important to take control of areas before just bursting onto site actually baffles me. This is part of the reason that I believe that anybody can hit Immortal, and it's because Immortal players just aren't that good. You get players who don't really understand map control, they don't really know how to play off of their teammates, they don't really communicate all that well, and they hardly know how to play their agent, but they have pretty decent aim, so I guess they're all right? I had an actual Immortal player the other day tell me that it's a bad idea for Jets to engage onto site by smoking and dashing out into it. He said that they should only use their dash as a disengage every single time. And I was just like, bro, like, the thing is, it actually makes sense though why players in Immortal would have really cracked aim but wouldn't be very good at anything else. And I can tell you why. As an educator in Valorant who's been in the scene for quite a while now, I've actually noticed some trends over the last year that stuck out to me. Primarily, one of the biggest trends that I've noticed is that anything related to shooting targets, such as aiming, movement, peeking angles, stuff like that, performs incredibly well on YouTube. That's part of the reason that one of my videos about the Phantom versus Vandal debate actually did really well, because that's one of the more searched topics in the community. This extends beyond the educational community, by the way. This is why you'll see a lot of videos from the entertainment content creators like, this new Vandal gave me aimbot. It hits all of the bases. However, the videos that never really tend to perform well are anything to do with the macro game. This includes things like rotations, defaults, how to gain control, playing around ultimate orbs, stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's entirely possible that my videos are just dog shit, but it's a trend that other creators and educators in the community have probably noticed, and it's something that's kind of frustrated me. That's just how the market works though, and the market shows that players care a lot more about having good aim than really anything else in the game. Which is disappointing for me because this is the stuff that I really enjoy in the game, but it should be exciting for you because that means it shouldn't be that hard to get better than these guys. This is just my theory of why there's so many players in higher ranks who seem to say really stupid things though. Who knows though, maybe I'm the one who's really bad at the game and splitting sights and having jet dash out is a bad idea. That's for you to decide though. I haven't been creating as much content on the main channel lately, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't really have anything to advertise right now, but like, hey, if you guys learned something and you want to, you can become a member on the channel down below. It's like $2 or something, and that really does help me out because honestly, there's a lot of effort that goes into stuff like this. It also encourages me a little bit more to make stuff like this. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, do that, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Thanks for watching.